Good afternoon, guys. It's working, bringing you an update on Ethereum. Hope you guys are having a wonderful afternoon. We're looking at Ethereum to the US dollar. This is the one-day chart on Coinbase, and Ethereum broke out of this wedge. It fell down, didn't even acknowledge the 250. Of course, this was all in relation to Bitcoin falling, or the entire market falling yesterday. Finally found support here on the 226 to 220 support zone down here, and seems to be just kind of sitting there, moving sideways for now, consolidating. I zooming in here on the 4 hour. We can see there just hasn't been much movement at all over the last 12 hours or so. Just been kind of sitting there, moving sideways. Did wick below, came right back up, and just been sitting here, moving sideways ever since. I do think Ethereum is getting very close to possibly bottoming out, guys. Now, if Bitcoin does drop, Ethereum is going to drop with it, no question. But that aside, if I just look at Ethereum alone, it does look like it does look like it's getting very close to the bottom. I'm not saying this is the bottom. I'm just saying if it's not, then we're very, very close. I would actually probably, in my opinion, I think probability says that the more than likely we do have one more wave down. This was just far too impulsive to just stop right there and then just bump right back up. Probably going to move sideways. One more wave down, test it, smash off this demand zone here, or excuse me, bounce off the demand zone here, and then come back up to test this ascending support line here. And if I zoom back out here on the big picture, guys, this is on the daily chart. This was my overall count. I believe, of course, we had 5 waves up. I believe we had an ABC correction followed by a very impulsive looking wave here. Ended up failing as soon as price dropped below that prior low, which put us in another ABC correction. And I do believe that we've seen this A, B, and now we're down for the C. And if I zoom in here, check out our subwaves of that C wave. I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, and looking like we're coming back down for that 5. So the question is, where is that 5 going to bottom out? Well, again, if I look back here, if I check my support areas, guys, the next very strong support zone I have here is this demand zone between 196 and 178. I do think there's a good chance that price might end up bottoming out there. I do have, I should say, some buy orders that are stacked right in between 196 and 178 all the way down, expecting a possible bounce at any point in time during that if price ever does get down there. Now, again, I'm not saying that it is. It may never get down there, guys, but I do think that's a very good bet that if it does, we're going to get a strong bounce out there, and that's a good buy with a tight stop loss, in my opinion. Below that, we do have some support sitting at around 159, 155, decent support zone there. But the demand zone sits right here between 196 and 178. Coming back out to the bigger picture, guys, obviously price has to break up this massive ascending resistance line that's been in place since late January. Had been tested quite a few times, been in place since, again, late January, came up, very strong rejection, up, not as strong rejection, just kind of huddled right below there, followed this line just perfectly, showing you how strong that resistance is. Finally ended up breaking down, guys. Thought we were going to test it here. It just broke down before we could get there. So I would expect possibly, again, come down, hitting that demand zone, and then coming right back up to complete that WXY pattern. If we come in here and we zoom out, or excuse me, we zoom in on our, or zoom out on our weekly chart, let's look at our RSI. Weekly RSI is kind of have a falling wedge here. Now, it doesn't mean that can't break. Typically, that's a bullish pattern. Doesn't mean it's gonna definitely break bull. In fact, sometimes we see this thing break down, fake people out, and then come right back up. All this says is that as it gets closer to the apex, there is a very, very high likelihood that we are going to get a breakout of some kind. So we'll have to wait and see if price ends up breaking down or breaking up. But it does look like it's going to break out in one direction or another, very, very probably within the next week or so, at least, in my opinion. And we are reaching oversold territory, certainly on the weekly. If we come in here and we check our stock RSI, weekly stock RSI is oversold, has been for quite some time now. So again, suggesting that we may in fact see a bounce here fairly soon. What else am I seeing possible, or what other evidence am I seeing of price possibly bottoming out? If I come in here and I look at price, this is again on the daily. If I look at price this point to this point, clearly price created a lower low. If we look at our histogram, we can see our MACD. Look at the histogram on the MACD. We can see price created a higher low. Same thing on the RSI. If I kind of blow it up here, you can see a little bit better. There you go. Not as severe, but certainly showing the same thing on the RSI there. Also the same thing on the stock. So again, all daily indicators are showing positive divergence. So again, doesn't mean that it's going to stop right where it is, but does mean that we're getting close to, it does mean that we may be getting close to the bottom. And I want to stress may, because if Bitcoin breaks down, Ethereum is going to break down, and technical analysis is going to go out the window on Ethereum. But assuming that Bitcoin moves sideways or just slightly breaks down in the short term, I do think that Ethereum is getting very, very, very close to bottoming out. So what are going to be some indicators that show that that the market is shifting? In my opinion, coming obviously buying down in this demand zone of 196 to 178 is in my opinion, is a good bet. Again, not financial advice, just my opinion. That's where I'm stacking my buy orders. But what is going to be some signs that we are actually breaking out of this? We need to test this descending resistance line here. So if price comes up, hits that demand zone, impulse right back up, test this resistance area here. At that point, I'd be ready to possibly I'm going to just scalp in this area. I'm going to buy right here and end up scalping in that area, possibly sell a portion of my position when it hits this, expecting a possible bounce off that zone. But yeah, I'm not going to sell all my position knowing, and it also depends on how impulsively this thing bounces. If it's very impulsive, I may not sell anything. But if we get kind of a slow bounce, slow trickle, and to kind of just slowly build its way up here, more than likely I'll end up selling my position right here, expecting a possible bounce. However, if we do end up breaking above this descending resistance line there, guys, again, that's going to be one indication that this bear trend is possibly over. Another indication is going to be coming in here, zooming in on the daily RSI. We need to break above this descending resistance line here. That's going to be another indication of a possible breaking this bearish trend. So once we get both of those things, guys, I think it's going to be, if you want to be conservative, I would wait for both of those indications. We get both of those indications, guys, that's going to be a good sign, a green light to possibly enter into Ethereum if you're looking at going long. Looking at our moving averages, we can see this is again on the daily. We can see that price fell below the daily bottom of the daily Bollinger Bands here, once again suggesting that we might be getting very close to bottoming out. If we come in here, we look at the weekly, we're seeing the same thing, getting very close to bottoming out here on the weekly at the Bollinger Bands here. So again, once again, all signs that we're possibly getting to the bottom of this correction here. Zooming in here, guys, we can see the price fell way below the 8-day EMA. Again, all very, very bearish signs. We check our short positions on Ethereum. Short positions are getting very close to near all-time highs, almost at all-time highs right now. So again, suggesting that we may be seeing the bottom of this market. We check long positions. Longs remained fairly stacked as well. However, they have been starting to get liquidated here in the last few days, and I wouldn't be surprised if that trend continues. If you see this trend continuing to where longs continue to get liquidated all the way down here, and as short positions if shorts continue to stack, coming up to all-time highs, again, that's going to be another sign that we are very, very likely reaching the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it there, guys. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. And as always, guys, I certainly would appreciate an upvote or a like. Just lets me know you want me to continue to make these videos. And until next time, guys, take care of yourselves, trade safe. This is Working, signing out.